what we've decided to do is slide Bart forward because it was that match and that happened. So here we go. Beat 2, 3, 4. So have you recovered from that match, Bart?
Well, the news that Graham Potter might be going somewhere else makes me sad because why can't he just come stateside and take over this team?
All right. What I wanted to do is walk everybody through.
No, John, I haven't recovered mentally or emotionally. Del, I did not attend, Del.
No, but what I wanted
No,
to
I did not
do-
attend that match, thankfully.
Yeah, I wanted to walk everybody through it. And for those that might have just, kind of seen bits and pieces, and found out, oh, there was a match. And then the match happened. So it was a 5-1 final in front of 55,494 in Maryland, suburban Washington, D.C. U.S. concedes 5 goals for the first time in 15 years. And you had a goal in the 6th that was not U.S. You had a goal in the 19th from Rafael Santos Burre that was not U.S. It was 2-0 at the break. Then Timothy Weah scores. Well, actually, tell you what, let's stop there. 2-0 at the break. What's going through your mind with the U.S. down 2-0? As Bart is doing Irish goodbyes on Monday mornings. I guess Bart was that fed up with the whole thing. He was that fed up. Nothing like a Monday to have transmission issues. You there, bud?
I think so.
Yeah, you're there. You're here. I got you. 2-0 at the break. You score. 2 goals are surrendered in the first 20 minutes. I want to walk everybody through this. What's going through your mind at the breakdown 2-0?
I think, honestly, the first half I don't think was that bad. You had 2 goals scored because of defensive lapses. You were relatively competent in things you wanted to do. I mean, I know I hate to say that, hey, well, we were winning the possession battle because it doesn't mean anything, but you were controlling your own ability to hold on to the ball. You were making progress into the final third. You just weren't finding the final pass. And the goals that Colombia scored, one was a weird, why are you making that challenge, Jedi Robinson, to give the ball directly to a Colombian player. And then a corner kick that no one clears, and you get an overhead bicycle kick that finds its way through Matt Turner, which, well, I'm sure we'll talk about Matt Turner. If you want to blame a goalkeeper for not saving a bicycle kick, then go play goalkeeper and see how fun it is.
Because it also looked like it got partially deflected too.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's one of those things where, like, yes, he probably should have saved it. I agree. It's a save that you would like for your keeper to make. But if you are a goalkeeper in that situation, you don't know where that ball is going because you don't have a good frame of reference to judge where it's coming off your foot. So regardless, it was a lot of errors, and Matt Turner could have done better. So could about 5 other defenders on that play. But we're going to blame the goalkeeper because we can't blame, defenders who can't clear a ball, apparently. But no, I don't think the first half was that bad. And I don't think the first really, 55, 60 minutes were that bad. It got bad real quick, though. And that was the concern.
You score in the 58th to make it 2-1, and then obviously we can talk about momentum and 2-0, most dangerous lead in soccer, all those kinds of things. Then it was for those that didn't watch, you'll see 3 goals in 11 minutes. Rio scores in the 77th. Carrascal scores in the 85th. Luis Sinisterra scores in the 88th. And there was some passing that was made up the middle of the park in those situations that you're kind of sitting there going, okay, there's a lot of space between dudes. You've either got to put a lot of juice on it in between A to B, or not do those passes in the first place.
Yep.
3 goals in 11 minutes, and everything just went boom.
You want to see my mug for the day, John?
Sure, I do actually. Yes, I do. I'm completely and totally remiss in not Les Miserables. Wow, he went irony this morning.
One, new mug. Got it last week. Went to go see Les Mis at the Fox. That was great. 2, it fits the theme of my soccer teams right now.
Okay.
Yeah, John, I think the problem was if you ever listen to the Total Soccer Show, Taylor Rockwell has what he calls quicksand games. And I know we've talked about this when we talk about the replacements. And it did feel a little bit like a quicksand game where you just started making too many mistakes. Mm-hmm. And I know Greg Berhalter, somehow the players are the only people who messed up that game. Not Greg, who's had this team for 6 years and has implemented a system that forces players to take about 27 touches before they make a decision. It's the players' fault. And the players did not play well. They did not execute anything, let alone basic passing, as you mentioned. CCV comes on to the game after Tim Ream, who didn't play very well. And his first touch wasn't really a touch. It was a ball that he let roll underneath his foot. And that kind of exemplified the rest of that match. It's just error after mistake after mistake. And that is concerning. The message from the team seemed to be that they were not up for the game. And while I understand that it is a friendly, Colombia certainly didn't see this as some training exercise. And if you're looking at this as some sort of glorified training exercise, that is concerning. And that's where I do blame Greg for not setting the tone and making the team aware that this is an opportunity for this team to not just get better, right? But also to understand and play at the intensity that Copa America has played at. And that's the thing is, like, if you think that Colombia was intense during a friendly, wait till there's a damn continental trophy on the line. I mean, that's the naivety that this team still has. And people want to call this team young, and it's somewhat young, but most of these guys went to the 2022 World Cup. None of these people are out on the field are inexperienced international soccer players. And you have a coach who's been on charge since 2019 and still can't get this team to perform at a level higher than, the best in CONCACAF, which is a trash federation that we get hyped up because we keep playing these damn Nations League tournaments because CONCACAF is a greedy organization who doesn't know how to, help their teams actually improve. And now you're stuck with a team that is unprepared for one of the, if not the most intense competition they're going to have ever. It's not a skill issue. I mean, I think a lot of people are like, oh, we're just not good. That's bogus. I'm sorry. Like, all of our players are highly skilled, highly trained professionals. Colombia are great players as well. But when it comes down to it, you did not match the intensity. You didn't match the mindset. And that, to me, is a problem with leadership on this team. So who's the ultimate leader of the team, of the program? It's Greg Berhalter, and that's his job to get this team in the mindset to go play a game like this.
20-19. Here's Greg Berhalter after the match, thanks to our friends at US Soccer.
Really disappointed, obviously, with the result. We're not framing it as a lesson learned. We're actually framing it as a wake-up call. Really poor performance against a top team. And I think if you give a team like that the opportunities that we gave them, you're going to have no chance to win. It's never going to happen. And, that's what's really disappointing about the game. I think the first half, you look at the 2 goals, maybe they had 2.5 chances in the first half, scored 2 goals. And then, from the 75th minute on, it was, I think, a lack of respect for our opponent, the game of soccer, what we were doing. And,
So there you go.
And to be fair to Greg, that first half, you're right. They didn't have that many chances. We had a couple chances that we didn't convert. And that's what happens. Sorry to lump on to the miserableness, but we've talked about this a lot with Atlanta United, where you can talk to me all you want until you're blue in the face about possession and XG and all these things. But if the ball doesn't go in the back of the net, what the hell does it matter? And that kind of was the way the first half went. Colombia had 2 chances because we gave them to them, and they converted, and we did not. And this team does continue to struggle to create good, clear-cut chances. They certainly struggle to create enough chances to, score more than 1 goal. And that is a concern overall. But in this game specifically, it was just, you as a team, you as an individual messed up a lot. And when you mess up that much against a Colombia team that's very talented, you are going to be hurting afterward.
None of the USA 10 attempts at goal required a save. And we mentioned the giveaways, especially late. Colombia last scored as many goals in a 5-0 home win over Bolivia back in 2013. What I always like to do is have the hair stand up on the back of your neck by giving you the ratings from our friends at Soccer America. And Matt Turner got a 4.
I mean, you let 4 goals or 5 goals in, you're not going to get a high rating as a goalkeeper.
True. That's absolutely.
You can blame all the defenders you want, but you still let in 5 goals. It's not going to be good.
Defenders starting lineup: Joe Scally, Tim Ream, Chris Richards, Anthony Robinson. Together, the ratings for the 4 of them were a total of 12.
So FOTMob has Tim Ream at a 6.4, and I want to know how they're rating him that, because he was atrocious today. Not only was he giving the ball away a lot, he had lacked the speed to be able to really make up for his errors. I do not want to see Tim Ream starting for this team again. I'm really sorry. He is a great guy. I'm sure he's a good veteran, locker room presence, whatever you want to say. But unfortunately, the international game, that pace of play seems to have passed him by a little bit. And the reality is, he had a sub come in for him that wasn't very good either. And that's concerning. Probably because he plays in the Scottish League and plays for Celtic. So that's probably why. I'm waiting for Derek to crash through the door.
Oh, I'm sure this is recording, I'm sure.
Jedi had a terrible game as well. He was the one who I think was most affected by James Rodriguez doing James Rodriguez things. And he could not keep up with having 2 players basically on his side the whole time. I thought Scally was okay. He certainly wasn't the biggest issue. He wasn't a positive by any chance, but he was fine.
So then what would your center back pairing, if you had the magic wand and you had your choice of center back pairing, what would it be? Well,
I still think you have to look at Chris Richards as your most, I guess, promising center back, probably your best center back at this point. I would like to see him and Miles play again. I know that's a controversial statement because CCV plays in Scotland, and somehow that means that he's the best player that's ever existed, as opposed to Miles Robinson, who played last, which is the worst league that's ever been contrived. So, obviously Miles is nowhere near as good as those players, but I would put Miles and Richards together. I think they balance each other out very well. I think the problem was in this game, you tried to pass way too much. And this is where, again, we get into the Berhalter issues of you don't create enough chances to score a lot of goals through your possession style. You're disorganizing the opponent with the ball. This is bullshit line from his
There you go. There you go.
Well, it is bullshit, John, because we ain't seen it once.
I'm just saying that we earned the explicit rating 23 minutes.
Well,
where I am.
This is what Greg Berhalter did to us. This is what the U.S. men's national team did to us.
Midfield.
Yeah.
Keep going. I was going to. Well, okay. We can circle back if you want. Midfield starters: Weston McKennie, Johnny Cardoso, and Gio Reyna combined for a 9. Combined for a 9.
So I think there was a lot of problems that the midfield weren't able to solve. I think that's fair. I don't think it's fair to say that they were all bad.
Yeah.
I actually thought Johnny did a decent job in this game, both breaking up some attacks. But like when your defense can't pass the ball to you and your defenders are the ones making the mistakes, it's hard for you to build any sort of offense from back to front and be able to recover quick enough. And so I thought the midfielders actually were left hanging out to dry a lot by the defenders.
What Soccer America said that Johnny frequently near the action without joining it successfully, lost the ball to Jean Duran in the midfield ahead of the third goal, tracked back, caught in no man's land when Sinistera set up Rios.
Yeah, that's fair.
Gio Reyna hit a couple of fine crossfield balls. He was fine and was involved in the buildup on Weah's goal. Free kick set up a Hadji right header. Reyna wasted his next free kick, overhit a through pass when precision was tantamount to the hopes of competing. Yeah. Weston McKennie failed to find a way to contribute offensively or defensively, yet they gave him a higher rating than Johnny. I
think Weston has games like this, to be fair, where it's hard for him to find his rhythm in a match. That's something West needs to get better at, because we see this in Serie A where he'll have fantastic games where you're like, this dude is some midfield magisterio or whatever Roy Hudson says. But magisterial. There you go. He has some of those games. But then he has some games where you're like, wait, is this dude good? And to be fair, the good definitely outweighs the bad by a significant portion. But West sometimes has those games. Again, I don't think the midfield was terrible. I thought Gio had bad decision making at times. But again, I think this is a symptom of the offensive system that's in place, where it is methodic and plotting and not very seamless and direct. And again, direct doesn't mean you're kicking the ball long. Direct means you're making quick, decisive, and incisive choices.
So, and then on the forwards up top, Weah and Balogun got 5s. Christian Pulisic got a 4.
Yeah, Pulisic struggled this game. I think also when you're not getting the ball a whole lot, you're going to struggle, right? Weah gets the goal, but I think other than that, he was really bad. And I think that is fair to say. He had a giveaway that directly led to a goal. He had a couple of other times where his passes or decisions to dribble were pretty bad. But yeah, I thought Pulisic, did not have a good game. I thought Balogun was okay. But again, you didn't create a lot of chances, so no one's going to get a high rating.
Substitutes. Hadji Wright got a 4. CCV gets a 2. Malik Tillman and Yunus Musa and Ricardo Pepi each got 3s. Luca Della Torre got the incomplete.
Yeah, the midfield subs made us look worse. And I think that's fair to say that after they came on, our performance really dipped. And so, again, I'm wondering for Tillman and Musa, why were they not prepared enough to come into this game when the Colombia subs were? The Colombia subs, I think, all scored at one point in the game. That 3 of them at least scored. And that is, 3 scored and the other had an assist. So, why weren't our subs impactful? That may be on coaching. That also is a little bit on them. And that's a fair critique and concern going forward. I thought Tillman was a little invisible. I thought CCV was just downright bad. I think we covered that. Hadji, I thought, was better. Honestly, I thought Hadji was better than a 4, maybe just because he didn't play as long. But he at least tried to create on his own and was able to at least progress the ball to, if not the opponent's box, at least into the attacking third on his own. That's a little bit of I thought that's a little bit of a harsh rating, but maybe that's just because he played 45 minutes.
Colombia's victory extends their unbeaten string to 22, includes victories over Japan, Germany, Brazil, Mexico, and Spain. Trivia time for you, Bart. The last time the U.S. suffered a loss by 4 goals was when?
The CONCACAF was either the Gold Cup or the CONCACAF playoff thing, Continental Cup thing for the one of those things against Mexico in like 2000. What year was that? 11 or 13?
It was even sooner than that, and you can blame Jurgen Klinsmann. 2018 World Cup qualifying, the last game that he was in charge, 4-0 at Costa Rica.
That was, yeah. I was
I
thinking
know,
we gave up 5 in those CONCACAF games in that stretch where Bob Bradley lost and then lost his job. But yeah,
and that's where I was. That's what I was building up to. The last time the USA conceded 5 was when?
Was after, and then Jurgen Klinsmann got shown the door. Jurgen Klinsmann also lost at home to Mexico 3-2. I was at that game. That was, or 2-1. I was at that game. That was that was a bad cold night in Columbus. Granted, there are very rarely a good night in Ohio, but that was a very bad night in Ohio.
5-0 at East Rutherford to Mexico, 2009 Gold Cup final.
That's the one I was thinking of.
And I know how you want to block Bob Bradley and Jurgen Klinsmann out of your brain.
Well, to be fair to Bob Bradley, he won the 2007 Gold Cup final 2-1 in Soldier Field. I was at that one.
Wow. So
but then we've had some bad losses for sure, but this one feels somehow worse.
Where it was phrased by Greg Berhalter in the clip that we played that it was a wake-up call and not showing enough respect for your opponent.
Which I have an issue with is why were they not respecting their opponent? This is Colombia, a team that is, ranked just one spot behind you in the world rankings. We all know that's a farce. Like, I'm sorry, the U.S. is not the 12th best team or 11th best team in the world. Come on, Coca-Cola. Just because you're headquartered in the U.S. doesn't mean you have to give us more points. But it was very clear who the better team was, right? But it was also clear which team wanted to play this game to win. And you can blame the crowd for being 90% Colombian. I blame playing in Commander's Field because I think you should never play there. Any sport ever should be played in that stadium. It is by far the worst stadium that exists in the world. I mean,
really?
Worse than San Siro.
Wow, the worst ever. I
stand by that.
Well,
let's be honest. We're playing in a Camping World also sucks. Camping World barely has chair back seats. They just decided to do that like this century. That one sucks as well, to be honest.
So then let me ask you this. You've got time, you have to turn things around because you've got another one in the midweek. What would your starting 11 in a perfect world have been going into this match this weekend? And then what are you looking for in the midweek for this second friendly coming up?
Honestly, I mean, I wouldn't have changed anything about this lineup except for starting Robinson over Ream. That's it.
Yeah.
Everyone else is, obviously Tyler Adams isn't fit, so you have to play Johnny. I don't think Johnny was bad enough to say that he was the problem. I think maybe you need to look at Tim Weah as a right back or someone else as a right back over Joe Scally. I don't think Joe is bad, but I think you just need to look at that considering that your other option is more. So I would say put Weah maybe as a right back and see another winger. Maybe put Hodgett left, Christian Pulisic on the right as a possibility against Brazil. But, I don't think that the lineup was necessary. Like at some point you have to understand that the lineup is the lineup because those are your best 11 players. Again, outside of maybe Ream for Robinson, this is about the closest best 11 we can get right now with the players who are available.
What are you, and let me phrase it this way. What is your outlook right now? And I guess I could probably re-ask you this question on Thursday after the second friendly, but what are you looking at right now with this team in Copa, considering the buildup that we've seen and what happened. And like I said, the immediacy is going to give a bit of a bias here. And I know that we'll probably have another set of immediacy bias after Wednesday night.
Right.
But what is your outlook? What are your other concerns, questions, other than pretty much everything involving the guy on the touchline? And when it comes to this club coming with Copa coming up the way that it is?
Well, as I tweeted after the game, follow me at SoccerForUSPod.
There you go.
I didn't learn anything new. We knew these were going to be issues, right? We knew that the system is complex and is going to struggle against teams like this. We've seen it in the past. Canada beat us in qualifying because of what Colombia did, force individual errors because they pressed high. We knew that our center back pairing is going to be a problem because even though Chris Richards is very good, he has his weaknesses and his partner isn't going to be as strong as I think he would want them to be. I think that we know that this team struggles to create a boatload of chances. And so we're going to have to be clinical and finish the ones we get. But that said, it is one friendly, and it is just a friendly. To answer some of the comments in the chat, yes, it's just a friendly. A lot of the European commentators who talk about the U.S., 5-1 is bad. Like, I think that's first. 5-1 is bad. I don't like losing a friendly is whatever.
Yeah.
5-1 is inexcusable no matter what competition you're playing.
Right.
But it is just a friendly. And these things in the grand scheme of things do not mean anything toward Copa America. So yes, the response on Wednesday is important. And I think that is where, if you look at the response on Wednesday and say, okay, did they come ready to, did they bring a fist to a gunfight, or did they actually, match what was going on here? Because it felt like they brought Noodle to a gunfight on Saturday. And
it's like Indiana Jones, where he's in the public square and the guy's got the whip and Indy just takes out the gun and goes bang.
Yeah, exactly. And a whip would have been more efficient on this game. And so that's the thing, is do they respond and match that intensity? Because again, Copa America, especially for these South American teams, means a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime they wear the national team kit, it means a whole lot. And that is something that the U.S. team needs to realize and match. Because, again, if you think that it was intense on Saturday, wait till there's an actual trophy on the line. And if they respond well, if they come out with a better intensity, pace of play, then you can feel a little bit more confident going into Copa America. That said, we're likely going to play either Brazil or Colombia in that quarterfinal match. And then again in the semifinal. So if you look at the fact that we haven't beaten Colombia in a real friendly in, I feel like, 2 decades, that's not real, but it feels like that.
Yeah.
It's been 5 times, I think, that we've lost in a row to them. That is concerning. And to talk about the dude at the top, Del, what's the laugh about quarterfinal, man? That just means you get out of the group. Like, I'm sorry, if you think that this team can't get out of the group against Panama and Bolivia, then
and if you don't, there's a problem.
Be so for real. Right. If we don't, then everyone's fired. But a quarterfinal literally just means you make it out of the group. Like, please be serious and have some sort of actual rationale to this. Okay. Quarterfinal literally just means you make it out of the group. So calm. Okay, Del, we'll see. You're right.
This sounds like a conversation that should be had over.
I mean, apparently, yeah.
But I mean,
you should make it out of your group. If you don't make it out of your group, then there's if you don't make it out of your group, then the next day, the entire coaching staff doesn't have a job and half the players shouldn't return. Okay. I'm not joking.
Understandably, when it comes to this roster, as it is currently constructed, would any of the Olympians be better served in the Copa? And would any of the Copa-ins be better served as Olympians?
The only one I can think of right now that maybe would help us from the Olympic roster in Copa, maybe, is Kevin Paredes, just because he provides a little bit of he provides more like backup to Jedi Robinson, and maybe some pace on the wing. But I don't really think there's a player who's on that U23 roster right now that would help this team. Okay. And given that Josh Sargent is again hurt because the kid never drank milk as growing up, apparently.
Wow.
Ricardo Pepi needs to stay. So that would be the other one that I would say send him down if he's not going to play in Copa. But I mean, again, with Sargent hurt, Pepe's got to be your backup striker.
What about your concerns at the back?
There's not a center back that's going to come up and make anything better. Name a U23 center back.
Well,
they don't exist.
Well,
and that's the problem.
Is there anybody on the Olympian roster? Don't you get like age exceptions for the Olympic?
Yeah, well, so the rumor is that Zimmerman or Miles, but Miles is already on this roster, and I'm sorry, I don't think Walker's fit for Copa America anymore. The dude is barely fit for MLS. He doesn't play much anymore, so he's hurt a lot. Has been hurt a lot.
And that was where I was trying. That was what I was trying to lead into, was the idea of possibly Miles or Walker drifting back.
Well, Miles has every chance to make this Copa roster. I think it is a little concerning that he wasn't in this game. We'll see what the Brazil friendly plays out for him, because I do know that Greg specifically mentioned Miles as someone who could be part of that Olympic roster, which is fine for me. If he plays in the Olympics, great. I think obviously that would have been the plan back in 2021 at that point. But I think he should be on the Copa America roster, because I think he's a center back that we need to have on the roster. But,
well,
I don't know if he's going to somehow make us not concede 5 goals to Colombia. Maybe we only concede 3.
But Uncle Dave, to your point, I think Noah might be a cycle away. I don't think it's not as big of a joke as you think. Noah's, I think, a cycle away from making, if he continues to evolve, he's a cycle away from making these kinds of impacts.
So you don't subscribe to Soccer for Us Pod. It's you just subscribe to Soccer Down Here. As on this feed.
It's a part of this here network. Yeah. So if you're on Soccer, if you've got SDH, then you've got Soccer for US. There you go.
Yep. So there you go. Yeah, if you subscribe to Soccer Down Here, you get my stuff when it comes out.
I didn't get the chance to ask you this, but what did you think about Mexico's wild ride over the last week?
Well, to be honest, I hope that the U.S. can replicate it, right? Because look,
I mean, that was,
they got dog walked against Uruguay
in Denver, and then you turn around and go and play at Kyle Field of all places.
And to be fair, look like you're about to get dog walked again, turn it around. So, I think if you're the US, you want to have a similar, look at similar to, Canada tied France just recently, and good for them. So you have to hope that you get a better performance against Brazil. And if you do, great. If you don't, it's fair to be concerned. But again, I will just say, because I know, Del, you hate literally every coach of your teams ever and think that every team that you have is terrible. But if the U.S. absolutely should. The expectation is still you make it out of the group. I'm sorry, but Bolivia is not as good as you. Panama is not as good as you. Okay. You can beat both of those teams and you're making it into the quarterfinal. That's all it takes. That's all the quarterfinal takes in Copa America, is to make it out of your group. You have to finish top 2 in your group. I don't know where you think that is some impossibility just because we lost to Colombia 5-1, okay, in one friendly. So this is where I will say y'all need to chill. because that is an overreaction that I can't get down with. The reaction of Greg Berhalter needs to be on the hot seat. The reaction of our players need to step up and match intensity. The reaction that we played like absolute crap. Those are fine. But to somehow be able to extrapolate one performance to say that somehow you're not going to make it out of a group that involves both Bolivia and Panama, y'all need a reality check. Y'all need to be so for real.
Well, and Tom, to your point, to Tom's point, Pep will be free next May. Is it too late for the World Cup?
No, absolutely not. That's only 2025. Absolutely not.
But I also think that he's going to be the new head coach of NYCFC going into their new barn before he does anything on a national scale.
Yeah. Look, if you want to set a realistic expectation, I think for Greg Berhalter, it is, in my opinion, if you do not win your quarterfinal match in Copa, I think you absolutely need to evaluate if he needs to be your coach because we made the semifinals in 2016 with a less talented squad. Okay. You are again hosting this match or this tournament. You know, you can talk about opponents and all that kind of stuff, but if you can't A, win your group, or B, win a knockout round game as a host of a major international tournament, I don't trust you as the manager to be able to do it in 2026 when you're hosting the World Cup. And that's what you're kind of looking at here. And I'm sorry to put those types of expectations of you actually need to, do something positive in a tournament. But you look at the 2022 World Cup and you did what was it expected. I mean, I'm sorry. I know we played England well, but at the end of the day, you won one game. And I'm sorry, but your record is right now not very good against teams who are actually very good.
So there you go. And Tom says, he said that Pep wants to coach a national team. Nothing wrong with dreaming. I just think that you might be a cycle off when it comes to Pep and the U.S. men's national team. So what is the week for the U.S. Soccer for US POD? It might be busy, or are you just going to kind of get everything?
Yeah, so hopefully we'll record something Thursday after the U.S. match. We'll talk about some positives. We'll talk about Emma Hayes and the U.S. women looking. I mean, I think that was the worst part for me is you came off two friendlies to start the Emma Hayes area where you saw a team playing intentional soccer, and then you watched the U.S. men play the exact opposite of whatever intentional soccer is, and that was concerning. So we'll talk positives, which is Emma Hayes, and we'll talk hopefully not all negatives because the U.S. turns it around and finds a result of some sort against Brazil and looks maybe, halfway decent on Wednesday. We also have a U23 friendly tomorrow, which who knows where that's being televised because U.S. Soccer hasn't mentioned that. It's not even on HBO Max. So
true. Might be on some bootleg YouTube streams.
I mean, the way that they do it, I don't know why it can't just be on Max. I don't know. Maybe
FS2, something like that. Buried in a corner someplace. So does this mean that we're having you back on Thursday morning? Is that how this works?
Probably not Thursday morning, but maybe Friday morning.
Okay,
Thursday, I have real world stuff.
And that's not allowed. This is a summer of soccer. That real world stuff's not allowed. Pencil yourself in for hour number 2 on Friday. How about that?
I'll come in after the smart people talk.
And then that'll be should be our friends at Beyond Goals at 9:30. So hour number 2 would be after that. Yes, the smart folks. So
which actually might be good if you get both Greg or Parky. They can comment on that mentality in the locker room at a time like that, because 5-1 is a demoralizing defeat any which way you slice it.
And it also reminds me that I've got to pull that Jimmy McGinty speech and have it ready for us. One of the best coaches that professional football has ever had, Jimmy McGinty of our Washington Sentinels, and Shane Falco at quarterback. So that's the best.
I do blame the result on playing in the Commander Stadium. I don't know if you could have picked a worst vibes stadium in the country.
Well, if RFK still existed, you'd be with the Raccoons, or if you played at Oakland Alameda.
Better vibes than racism. I'll take the Raccoons.
There you go. All right, brother. We will be seeing you as we drift through here in the summer of soccer, and we will be catching up with you in hour number 2 on Friday. Be safe, my friend.
All right. Y'all have a good one.